Hi, this is a tutorial for Tog247 and I'm just going to, Brian asked me to do a tutorial on this. Well, it's going to be more of a bit of a run through because I can't remember exactly what I did, and just run through the stages of how I built this up. And at the airport, at the air show, Southport Air Show, I took this picture of the RAF rescue helicopter and thought, it's all very nice with the sand, but I thought it'd be a bit more fun to do it so it was actually on the sea. So I found this picture of the sea. It's fairly boring, nothing particularly spectacular about that. And then the helicopter. The first thing I did was to get the colours roughly matching. As you can see, there's quite a big difference in colour with the sunlight and everything. So to do that, with the helicopter selected on its own layer, came up to image adjustments and match color. From the match color window at the bottom here, you can choose the source that you want to try and match the color from. It's from the same image, and then it will ask you which layer. Well, it's layer 1 we want to choose the color from, so I'll choose layer 1, and as you can see, that's made this image blue like the sea layer was. I just fade that a little bit. If you fade it all the way, you'll come back to the original, so you can just control how much exactly it's going to take the colour information. You can always play around with the luminance and the intensity of the colour as well. I think I pretty much left them the same, just gave it a bit of a tint somewhere like that, which I'm pretty sure that's what I did. And then, so here's the layer I've got. Going back to my actual image, I then needed to get the helicopter masked out so I can see the sea and the sky behind, and I did that with using the blend if options, which you can either double click on the thumbnail or come to the effects menu and choose blending options. And here you can see I've got blend this layer if grey. And I bought, if I take that back up, that's how it is with no blending at all. And I just drew this slider to the left, and you can see that the sky is gradually coming through from the underlying layer. I built all the way, and I think I was quite a long way over. And then by holding the Alt key to open up the little blend if triangle, which I think that's where I was about, which gave me a pretty good result on the propellers up here. You can see there's extra work needed because I've actually got holes going through the helicopter, and obviously the sand at the bottom still showing. So I just clicked OK to that. So I then put it on a mask on this layer, and this mask is just masking out the sand at the bottom. So where it's black, it's hiding this layer. So that's just hiding out the bottom. I then duplicated the layer, and if I just check, right, yeah, this layer doesn't have any blend mode at all, it's just normal blend mode at 100%. And on this layer, what I've done is just to mask out, if I turn this on and off, you should be able to see, there's just a couple of areas. If I zoom into the helicopter, you can see that there's just a bit of blue, too much blue showing through, and a few little areas that needed touching up on this layer, which is just a very simple mask. So that sort of, the mask isn't very accurate at all, but it's just giving the bodywork of the helicopter the right colour back. And the same with this guy's legs. And if I turn this layer off, you can see where I used the blending if options, I didn't get a very good result. So I just used a simple mask just to put that back on, which was there, just a little, just with a brush tool, painting on white, just to put the legs back roughly how they were. And then the next stage, I put in a bit of a twirl on the floor here, just to make it look like a downdraft from the props. It's not particularly realistic, but it adds quite a lot. It does make it a bit more realistic. And the way I did that, was to, if I just come back down to the bottom layer, I was grabbed a bit of the sea. I used Command J, Control J to copy that selection to a new layer. So here's the new layer. I then free transformed that and made it fit. This isn't exactly the way I did it, but the rough way I did it. And just so it fills the screen. And accept that as a transformation. And then came up to Filter, Distort, Twirl. I then twirled it a lot, probably virtually maximum. Just click OK, which gives us that effect. And then if we come up to Edit, Free Transform, then by holding down the Command key or the Control key on a corner, you can distort this. So I would have brought those two in, that corner, and then this corner out, and the front corners out, to make it look like it's going to map onto the ocean, like so, and just accept that. And then by changing the blend mode to lighten, and if I turn the sea back on, by changing the blend mode to lighten, if I go back to normal, if I move it roughly into place, by coming to lighten, we're just getting the highlights mapped onto the surface underneath. I think I just reduce the opacity a little bit, but I mean actually that's the one I've just done here quickly. I think I found a bit of a better picture of a sea, a bit more wispy looking. Actually they might work well together. I then put on a mask just to clean up the edges, just a little round mask here. I've turned my helicopters back on, and then a little bit of a curves adjustment, and maybe a bit of a levels, but I think I decided I'll do that in Lightroom. So I came back to Lightroom with it once I'd finished there. In Lightroom, here's the picture as it came back from Photoshop, and then it's probably easier just to give you a snapshot of what I've changed in the develop mode module in Lightroom. So there's all the changes, which is lowering the exposure, up in the blacks, up in the brightness a lot, taking the saturation down quite a lot in places. I think that was all pretty much about it. So that's how I got there.